the same cannot be said about Bayern Munich. They get a huge monkey off their back with this result, I think. And I think too, and I got to say it, we've been accused of being the anti-Harry Kane podcast. Um, Bayern Munich spent 100 million euros on Harry Kane for him to play the 180 minutes. It was a little bit less. I'm just saying 180 minutes against Bayer Leverkusen. The way he played those 180 minutes, phenomenal. He scored 3 goals, 3 of the 5 goals, right? Um, was exactly the sort of player and difference maker that Bayern Munich needed in these big Champions League games. And, you got to say Bayern Munich with the striker that they have now, he's the first Englishman. I sent you this stat on Transfermarkt chat, and we're both kind of baffled that it really took this long because Champions League competition has been around since the early 1990s. He's the first Englishman to score 10 goals in a single Champions League season, right? He does it in just 11 games. So kudos to him there as well. I want to start with him because for a few seasons now, Bayern's biggest weakness was not having a striker who scores in big matches. This was a game that they had to overcome in the Champions League because of the history of Bayer Leverkusen, and Harry Kane showed up big times. And if he plays like that for the remainder of the Champions League season, and I think he's hitting actually good form at just the right time, they might be one of the title favorites now, Stefan.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's be honest, the goal he scored was probably the easiest one he's going to score all season. It was
Except for the 20 penalties.
Yeah, and yeah, of course. But that the defending from Leverkusen was just completely, unbelievable. It was a simple, wasn't even a good cross. It was just Kimmich basically chipping the ball into the box. And no one decided to pick up Harry Kane as a fumble in the box, and he knocks it home. But no, you're right. I thought he played really well this game. He dropped deep. He was setting up goals, setting up plays rather, making passes. He was doing what he likes to do, which is drop deep, make passes, and then also try and get into the box and create chances. And he offered a lot more than Patrick Schick did over the course of the game. He was properly supported with Musiala, with Olise, with Coman. And yeah, I was just incredibly impressed with Bayern Munich over the course of these 2 legs, I must admit. Obviously, I was watching this game, but obviously had another eye on the Liverpool game as they were playing PSG. And I was struck by maybe the idea that maybe we had to kind of reconsider that Bayern performance against PSG in the group stages where, we didn't think this PSG team were maybe up to much. But they obviously caused a huge issue for Bayern Munich over the course of the game. But for Bayern to obviously get the better of them over those 90 minutes was actually quite impressive. And if PSG do actually end up being, one of the better teams in the competition, and a team that will presumably play Arsenal in the quarterfinals and then most likely Real Madrid in the semi-finals, that'll actually be a good yardstick for Bayern Munich to gauge how good that side of the draw is, whether PSG beat Real Madrid and get to the final, or, obviously go toe-to-toe with Real Madrid or Arsenal. We'll see what happens in that one. But yeah, I just thought it was really interesting, and I discussed this with our subscribers after the game on the Substack chat, that it really feels like Kompany's kind of got the measure of Xabi Alonso now. It feels like he knows how to beat this Leverkusen team. The thing that really stood out to me in both legs was just how tenacious Bayern were off the ball in the first 20 minutes. They're not typically a team that counter-press in the traditional sense. They're not like Pep Guardiola's old Barcelona side. They're not like Klopp's Dortmund or Klopp's Liverpool. They're obviously a team that, traditionally speaking, and typically in the Bundesliga for Kompany, hold on to possession, and they try and break teams down because that's just the way it is for Bayern Munich in the Bundesliga. But Kompany clearly saw a way to beat Leverkusen, which was by making them very uncomfortable from the get-go, making sure Leverkusen don't get into the rhythm, they don't get into their kind of set ways of kind of dominating a game, they don't allow that defence to settle and Granit Xhaka to perch in that kind of circle spot and start dictating play. It caused havoc in the first leg. And it caused havoc in this leg. And, if you look at the pass maps for Leverkusen, they were atrocious. But, Bayern Munich set up perfectly well. And, they completely neutralise Frimpong with having Alphonso Davies on the left side because he can match him man for man. Kingsley Coman was doing what he does usually, which is a kind of defensive winger role. And I thought Michael Olise and Jamal Musiala had a great job against Grimaldo, who's very good going forward, but obviously not a fantastic defender because he's more or less a wing back. And yeah, it's just interesting. Like I said to our subscribers, it feels a bit like when Bayern Munich finally figured out how to beat Klopp's Dortmund, and from then on in, the kind of fear factor had gone, and bit by bit, that rivalry just kind of crumbled to a point where Bayern Munich just kind of reasserted themselves as the kind of undisputed champions of German football. And it feels like, Kompany has managed to do that this season, and he deserves a huge amount of credit for that because, we said during the group stages that they'd managed to tie down the Bundesliga perfectly well. They'd set up a system that got maximum points out of those league games. But in these kind of one-off Champions League ties or one-off games against Leverkusen, they're still a bit wanting, tactically speaking. But over these two legs, I think Kompany has adjusted his tactics, adjusted his system. The players now know what they're doing, and they look far better for it. And I said it full time on social media that a lot of people were sneering. I know I have been critical of Kompany throughout the season, but I did actually write an article at the start of the season explaining why Bayern Munich had gone for him and why they'd signed this guy who failed at Burnley, and explained it. And it's working out because they're now, I checked last night, that they're on record to have their highest points tally in the Bundesliga since 2017-2018 season. And they'll probably most likely face a very stiff, good Barcelona side, which would be a big test for him. But, if Kompany and Bayern Munich can get past a Barcelona side, then I think they're as good as anyone to win this Champions League this season.
First, they have to beat Inter Milan.
Sorry, of course, Inter Milan. Yeah,
but you are right. Barcelona is next. Which I watched the Barcelona game against Benfica, and
yeah, they look very good.
There were some people that thought Hansi Flick be gone by December, and and I was part of the people too who thought Flick would struggle in Barcelona, and he's playing some good ball there, man. Barcelona can play football. They're fun to watch, and I'm very critical of their finances and the way they put it all together. I think that is something that you should definitely question whenever you watch this team, but the product on the field is incredible.